Pressure's on now, Virgil. Welcome to,
It
welcome
is
to,
on.
it's on. Welcome to the Avram Davidson Universe. I'm Bob from Wheel of Genre, joined here today with,
Virgil from Literally Books.
and we have been hitting our heads against the walls of hell to figure this story out.
That's
We're doing.
right.
We've been reading all these Eszterhazy stories, and they've all made sense. But now I think we have the most challenging one yet, Virgil. And I think what we need to do is beg anyone listening to please tell us what happened. But what we need to do, Virgil, is figure it out and see if we can put these pieces together. Because this story is very interesting. Many interesting things are happening. We meet Satan,
Yes.
but I don't know exactly what's going on. It's a mystery. The story is called Saint Satan and Pandaemon.
Yeah. So I read this story and I thought, okay, I must be a little tired. I must be a bit tired. So I thought, I'll read it again. And I read it again and I thought, man, I'm really tired. I don't know. I, I don't. And I was like, Bob, I don't know if I know what this story is about.
That's
And I love that
okay.
your response was, I have no idea what this story is about.
Well, we don't. So I think, like you
It was like
earlier,
the sweat was like, oh.
yeah, sweating all day. This, yeah, okay. It's interesting because it's mystery, and we've been reading this for the occult detective stories, and we've had now two that are very occult detective. You know, Eszterhazy is figuring out the Lurley, figuring out, a mermaid, an Undine, figuring out a bear man. I guess we've had three. Figuring out all of these things that are super paranormal, and then dealing with them in a kind of not trying to, as we've said before, as you pointed out, Virgil, not trying to vanquish the paranormal, but just trying to go experience it, put things in a kind of more peaceable order, and then let the paranormal continue. This has very interesting elements, but we need to figure out how to put these pieces together. We have a train, and we have an investment in trains. Eszterhazy seems to be involved in like train companies, but then we also have this underground religion that has secret handshakes, and these people saying, are you one of them? Are you one of them? And they get together and they seem to be summoning the devil.
Yeah. It's so strange because what's crazy about this is when I'm doing it is like sometimes I know you've probably read something before where you read something and you don't know what's happening. You think, well, yeah, this isn't very well written. This is probably like I can't figure it out. It's probably because there's something wrong with with this story. There's some flaw to it. But here it felt like all the individual scenes were so well crafted that it's like, okay, the writing is good. I will say that it was difficult to sort of like, I feel like it's one of those things where there's a detail and it's like the writing is so good. And then there's these little like deviations that Avram takes you on that are just so wonderful. And you get on these little deviations and like, I'm like, wait a minute, was there a point to that little scene? Was something I'm like, did I miss something? I don't know. It's like so subtle. It reminds me of going back and like watching like Evangelion with Curtis and like talking about that, and where like he's like, oh, did you see this little scene? It's only like 3 frames long and it's this. And I'm like, I do remember that. He goes, well, because of that those frames, that means this. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And it's like that. And this feels like it's one of those scenarios where there's just a few planted sentences and we just have to, it's like the mystery is for us it's like, it's not really Dr. Eszterhazy's mystery. It's almost like it's our mystery. If that makes sense.
Dr. Bob's and Doctors
That's
Bob
right.
and Virgil, not
Bob
Dr. Bob's.
I should have worn my deer stalkers.
Get a pipe. There's a famous mystery. I wish I could remember the name of it. If anyone is listening or watching and knows the name of it, there is a mystery that's been going on, I think, for 50 or 60 years. It was published in a magazine, and or at least the announcement was published in a magazine, but you have to buy a book. And I think all the pages are out of order, or there's all of these different facts, and there's no answer in the book. You have to send in your answer to someone. And I think that they've given different prizes away. Like as inflation has gone up, I think the first prize is like under $100, and now it's gone up to like 1,000, more than that. But it's extremely complicated, and I think only 4 or 5 people have ever solved it. And I feel like
Wow.
so Virgil, we're gonna be the first ones to solve this story.
Yeah, really. That reminds me of that this book called I can't remember. I heard about this not too long ago, called Mazes or Maze or something like that. It's a maze, and essentially it's like a puzzle book.
Huh.
And the puzzle is like so complicated that I don't think it's ever been figured out. Like I don't know if it's ever been resolved. You know, I just saw a video about it. A gaming channel, Questing Beast, did a video about it. Really cool. Like this sort of like a kid's book, like an art book, and the images, and then like the text, and it's all these. It's like this maze you have to find your way through. Anyways, it's totally fascinating. But like the first one is like almost like impenetrable. Like I don't know if they actually have somebody who's ever figured it out.
Whoa. So. Okay, we're in the maze now.
We're in the maze.
So I want to look at
literally, actually, because there's talk about maize, corn.
Oh, right. Yes, as you would call it, maize. Yes. So there is. Eszterhazy is involved in this because his buddy is involved in this, and so now he's trying to put the pieces together. Eszterhazy even ends up at this weird demon summoning, which you would call a dominal, apparently. You'd call a demon.
I like that. I'm keeping that one. That dominal's good.
A demon
it really
summoning
is,
a get together where they're summoning the devil. And so he is even not clear why they are doing it. There is an explanation by a bishop who is saying why this is happening. And he says, okay, this is a sect of Christianity that has kind of just been ignored for so long. And he says it's like being stuck under a dung heap until a cheese starts to become so ripe it changes. And he says, okay, because they have been stuck under this whatever they're stuck under, it has transformed them into something else where they believe in Saint Satan. And
right, yeah, because they're actually like, they're talking like, oh, he's risen, like almost they've like turned Satan into like a Christ-like figure almost or something. You know, he's like, he's coming back. Oh, he's coming back.
Yeah, so it like they say Satan is risen, right? So it says the person giving the sermon, he says, "Beloved brethren, dear saints who have kept the faith, I have come to deliver unto you the joyful and so long awaited tidings. Saint Satan has at last been released from hell with all his holy demons, even now begins to prepare for his rule over all the heavens and over all the earth." And everyone listening to this, they weep, they clasp their hands, they hit their chests like this, and they say, "Satan is risen, Satan is risen." And then Eszterhazy goes, "Oh? Is he?"
He's like, has he?
Oh, has he? That's what he says. Oh, has he?
It was great. And I like too that the Satanists of the story are so benign. They're so friendly. It's not like they're doing it. They're not really doing anything horrifying or evil. They're seemingly. I think there is some kind of a clue there with the bishop, because one of the last things he says is he references Vlad the Impaler. Who I know at the world at large views as like a, you know, like kind of a horrifying historical figure, but who is like a local hero. Even though he did these horrifying things, he's a local hero because of what he did for those people, what he did for that area, because I think there was a bunch of invasions and like he repelled invaders and all this other stuff, if I remember correctly. So for Romania, he's like not too bad a guy, but for the rest of the world, it's like, oh, he's horrifying, and you know, we'll turn him into Dracula.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's what's happening here. If it's a revaluation, because I chose this because Halloween is coming up. You know, it's spooky season, and I thought, okay, Satan and, you know, Pandaemons. If we have a bunch of demons, it's going to be a little bit Halloween-like. But I wonder if you're right. I wonder if it's like a revaluing of Milton's Paradise Lost, where we're kind of feeling sorry for Satan, or at least we're kind of interested in Satan, if that's what's going on, or if it is the kind of Halloween, oh, it's spooky. But it feels like maybe these people aren't really doing anything wrong in this story. They're just hard to say.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when you mentioned poem, I mean, I was just trying to think of a evil or maniacal figures as sort of like reevaluated and made me think of William Blake's The Tiger, which is strangely one of the only poems that I ever memorized.
Say
For
it,
some
Virgil.
reason, I do. I would recite the entire poem of The Tiger. Sure. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the force of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? What the hand dare... Ooh, wait a minute. In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? What the hand dare seize the fire? What the hand dare seize the fire? Boy, it's been a minute. What the hand dare seize the fire? Ooh, wait, maybe I can't. Maybe it's been too long since I've read it. Oh, that seems terrible, doesn't it? Now I feel embarrassed. This is a poem that I have memorized, but I think I'm a little tired.
Okay, Virgil, just
And what is it? Is it to go? And what shoulder and what art and twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, and what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? I'm not sure if I got the first stanza right, because it's could frame thy fearful symmetry the first time, then it's dare frame it the second time.
dang,
So we'll
either
see.
way.
Anyways,
impressed.
I didn't expect that to recite Blake this morning.
I know, with
We'll
already
keep that out. I don't know. We'll decide later.
with our difficult task too of just figuring this out. When they have Satan risen, they talk about why it's going to be important for them and how they will have all of these demons running over Earth. So it doesn't seem like it's a positive thing, unless demons mean something different here. But I wonder if it's somehow linked with the trains. Like, why are demons and why are trains seemingly connected in this mystery? When he says, when he explains further, he goes, "Beloved brethren, dear saints who have kept the faith, I have come to deliver unto you the joyful and so long awaited tidings. Saint Satan has been released from hell." And then eventually, he says the demons are all running over Earth. So
I know there's some talk about Roman Catholicism, and I know that the idea of a demon was modified for Christianity at some point, and that the original idea of demons were like house spirits. They were like, weren't demons like smaller spirits that you would like have in your house that would inhabit objects or something almost? I don't remember exactly what the old Roman idea of a demon was, but I think they were like smaller house spirits that would inhabit objects or something.
you had Socrates' demon. You could have good demons and bad demons. Good demons
So they weren't really they weren't really evil. It's just they were just spirits. It was the evil part was later. They modified that later. It kind of twisted it. Sort of that whole like paganism is bad sort of thing that Christianity did, and then twisted a lot of pagan ideas into sort of being satanic or evil.
I wonder if it's still the satanic or evil one here when they say, okay, oh, blessed Satan, what is the way? Because after they say Satan is here, they say, okay, now what do we do? What is the way? What do we follow? He says, okay, I shall send you a messenger, and the token shall be the verse of the former scriptures about the land spread forth as though on wings. I wonder if it's talking so much about trains, is it a comparison between pandemonium and all of these demons, or the kind of spread of trains, the spread of modernity through where the just expanding trains, expanding trade.
Oh,
and because in the there's the Polish writer who wrote a lot about trains being demonic.
Well, that makes sense because it's like it's this big, huge machine that makes a lot of noise, and it has a literal fire, like a little extremely hot fire in it that powers a boiler, and there's all this steam that comes out of it, so it looks very monstrous, demonic in a sense. I could see that. I could see that imagery is similar. And
Stefan Grabinski, who wrote in the Weird, he wrote the White Virak, and then he also talked a lot about as we make new machines, he was worried it was going to replace the human soul, and he has a whole story about people on a train and they become possessed by the train. They become possessed by the energy of the train, or the kind of like modern virility of the train. It's just going so fast, and it drives these people almost to become machine-like, to become a little bit demonic in their in the way that they're being. They become modern like the train. They also become demonic, I guess, like the train, as far as Grabinski is representing it. And I'm wondering, this is so much about trains. Satan is risen. I'm wondering if there's a kind of idea of getting rid of something for something else. Like, if you expand the train, is it becoming like putting all of the demons on land?
Is it, yeah, this idea that like we lose the sort of natural sort of characteristics of who we are as humans or something, and giving it up for this machine, which is cultish maybe, and it has strange new values that don't necessarily correlate with ours or something. I could see that whole like transition from a more rural society to an industrialized society or something like that, and how that could seem evil. It can be evil in some ways. So yeah, I could see that. Totally, I could totally see that transition, and that maybe that is what's happening here. I'm not certain. That's what's great, is it's so well written, and it's like that it really sort of eludes you. At least when I was reading this, I feel like if a pass or two more, maybe we could get it. But it is one of those stories where you're like, ooh, I'm not sure.
Ooh.
Well, so what else have you got?
Well, I wanted to see what you thought about this too, because one of the guys who represents the train, because after Eszterhazy, he's been accused of trafficking with the devil. But then after he goes to this meeting, he sees all of this happening. He calls up a representative of the railroad from the U.S. And so he comes in and talks to Eszterhazy, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta have dinner with me and my wife. She makes waffles. She makes pancakes. You gotta come to the U.S. and we'll all hang out. It's gonna be great." And he is going to make a deal with the trains. He's going to help expand the trains, and he's going to kind of make a sale, or at least a deal. And while he's doing this, Eszterhazy pauses him, and he looks into his eyes, looks at his head, and he says, something is strange about you. He had, through kind of like Dr. John Silence, like reading someone's mind, as an occult detective, it feels like Dr. Eszterhazy has looked into this guy, decided what kind of person he is, and as soon as he does that, the guy gets really uncomfortable. This guy who's selling trains, or kind of making this connection between trains, and he says, "Okay, I'll see you later. I'll see you later." And he keeps making all of these promises as he gets further and further and further away. I wonder if Dr. Eszterhazy is seeing through this veneer and seeing what he really represents. And he's put all of these pieces together, but knows that he can't do anything to stop it. But it felt to me like that Joyce Carol Oates story about the devil coming to one's door and saying, "Please let me in, please let me in." He feels like a door-to-door salesman. He's Alan Friend in that story. And he's not a door-to-door salesman, but he's at the front door. And it feels like the devil here is kind of like someone selling you something.
Yeah, sort of like the devil is a businessman or something. Isn't that sort of reminds me of Old Scratch from Washington Irving, this sort of make a deal with the devil, and he's like this slick businessman or something like that, or a figure like that. Yeah, and then maybe he sort of sees through that. That's interesting. And there's even at the beginning of the story, there's even these two men discussing it's article that's written, and how there was talk about how, who was it, that the American farmers need to raise less corn and raise more hell.
Yeah.
If you remember that,
Yeah.
it reminds me. So it's like, yeah, so this is where it's strange, and that little event seems so unconnected to the rest of this until we talk about that and think, that is a strange thing. Okay,
Yeah.
Are they raising hell because their farms? Should they be raising hell? Are they raising hell by bringing these trains in so they can transport their crops? Or is it they're losing their farmland to these trains, or losing something?
I think, the trains are hurting the farmers. So they say, raise less corn and raise more hell. And so it's clear that the farmers need to get rid of the trains, or at least do something. But as far as it's laid out at the story, they need to get rid of the trains. At least they're hurting them. But it's so weird that hell is literally raised. It feels like a weird dream logic where it's connected because of association. You say, stop raising corn, raise more hell, which here it just means to protest, make a stink about it. But the story then takes it on as an associated logic and says, okay, this hell is really going to raise. We're going to go see these Satanists for some reason. And then Satan himself is going to come as a salesman and seal the deal of making sure the trains can never be stopped, that the trains will just increase. So it feels, I mean, maybe we're not reading it. Maybe that's not the intention, but that feels kind of what's going on. And I'm curious, I wanted to see what you thought, because we've noticed that in all of these stories, there is a true supernatural element, and that's why we chose it for Occult Detective Month. And here, there is the Satanists, they say that Satan has risen, but I wonder if it's similar to those other supernatural stories where it's not going to be, okay, I'm going to go put a stop to whatever supernatural thing is happening, like the werebear. I'm not going to stop the werebear from his relationship. I'm just going to let it happen. I wonder if Dr. Eszterhazy, too, in just allowing this salesman from America to come in, do his deal, I wonder if he's also doing that kind of same hands-off thing. Like, I'm not going to stop the supernatural from happening.
Yeah, maybe there is that. It is strange. You would think that you'd want to stop it if it was real, but there's still, as before, there's still this sense of like not really being sure at the end of the story if this was real or to what level it was real. Like, to what level is this supernatural really here? And it also sort of, that's interesting what you were saying, because it reminds me that sort of like these strange, it's almost as though this strange sort of like word play on words, like, is making it real. Like, they, because there's this talk about they need to raise hell. Like, it's almost like these phrases are like almost like an incantation in a sense. It's sort of a strange way to look at it, or this strange sort of deal that arises from it because of these phrases. These, there's sort of like there's a lot of stuff like that, like these contracts with the devil that are all like based on like very careful wording of a contract or something like that. I wonder if there's a little bit of that energy in there. And that reminds me, we were talking, and that reminded me of that Harlan Ellison short little story. It's in his like chocolate alphabet story is what it's called. And essentially, I think this is that story that he wrote in the front window of a department store. It's a super short story, and I absolutely love it, about this apothecary who gets another demon to sneeze, and then when that demon sneezes, it's like all of a sudden it starts to snow in hell. And because it snows in hell, like all these contracts come up. Like, essentially it seals all these contracts where everybody ever said it'll be a cold day in hell before that happens. And all that comes due. All these like verbal contracts from like thousands of years come due. So and so then this one demon is like punished or something. It's a whole thing about how this gets punished. It's like super. It's like 4 paragraphs. It's a wonderful little short story if you can find it by Harlan Ellison. But it just reminded me of that.
That's super great. I wonder, when you were describing that, it sounds like the story itself is dreaming. We've been having a hard time figuring out, as detectives, I don't know if we'll get hired, Virgil, but we're trying. We're trying to figure. Trying to figure out.
We can sit back in, right?
We can sit back in. The mystery, it seems to not really be like a mystery. It seems almost more like dream logic mystery. And as you said, it's a play on words, is how it's constructed. And then there is also a like symbolic kind of play, because they have this aurochs, which we find out is actually just a bull, because I think aurochs are completely extinct, and at this point they would be extinct too in Transbalkania. But
I think so.
Yeah, but they keep calling this giant bull an aurochs, and they say they don't even say anything. It's just there. And they're like, why do you have this giant bull? But I'm wondering, if it's got horns, why is this suddenly in there? Is it because we always associate the devil with having horns, and now we have this aurochs? In the other stories, we've seen something where it's like, okay, is that a bear? Is that a man? Or is it a man-bear-pig? What is this thing? So
I wonder if that's not exactly, but I wonder if it's summing up a little bit of reference to like Paul Bunyan's Babe, the giant ox or something. Yeah, there was an Avram. One of the things we read from Avram, where he talks about the space between its horns. There's so many axe handles and a plug of tobacco.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not here, but anyway.
Well, he's got a thing for aurochs or bull with the horns.
Yeah, because you're right. Because it has satanic references. Usually that like bull horns or something is close, right? It's definitely it. So yeah, there could be. It's tough, and you could have that combined with the babe thing. It's kind of like these weird. And Avram does a lot of that, where he has like a little bit of this myth, a little bit of this myth, and he just kind of brings them together. Mm-hmm. So it could be.
He's
so good at it. He just puts it together, and he's like, figure this one out.
Figure this one out.
Maybe there's a prize for this story too that we don't even know of. It's in there, but you have to find.
Yes.
You have to be good enough to know what the prize. I thought it was very interesting, and really enjoyed this whole like little pastoral scene that we get of this village, and like the regular, like the peasants or the townspeople. It was just so goofy and silly. And I mean, they talk about how they do these like weird sort of cruel little jokes to each other, and how they laugh so hard that they like fall down and roll on the ground and everything. And I thought that was really, really great. I mean, it's just such a well-written story, a really enjoyable story to read. And it just seems like that good writing distracted me from whatever I was supposed to be looking at. It's like a magician, right? When they're like, "Oh, look at this," and they're like snapping their hand or something. And they do something, and while you're looking over there, they take your watch off you or something. You never notice. It's like that.
So we've been tricked by the magician here. It's interesting too. In that scene, we meet the mountebank, who is they call him the Russian juggler, the Russian magician or something. And he's doing that exact thing that you say, because as he's juggling, first he starts with 3 balls, and then it suddenly goes to 1. He says, "Oh, where do the other 2 go? I don't know." But he keeps distracting people, and he seems like he's doing all of this on purpose. And that's when we get to this cult, or get to this the Church of Satan, because he and this other guy, they shake another member of the church. As they shake hands, they put a red scarf, like a juggler scarf, over their hands. And so Avram, or the narrator, says, "And we can't even see what they're doing. Are they doing some secret thing with their fingers?" So there are these distractions. There are these kind of pulling the wool over your eyes so something else can happen. And we keep getting distracted by the wrong cup. We're not looking at the right cup as they go around and around.
Yeah, misdirected, right? Misdirection.
Misdirected, yeah.
Yeah, so and it's so interesting to think this stuff, because it is sort of what the story. It's literally what the story is doing, but then we see that it's also a character in the story is doing that. So I wonder if the story is written in such a way that it's intentionally trying to misdirect us, so we can't see what's happening. It's kind of interesting. Like there's a meta level to the story.
There's a meta level. All of these demons hiding in the story, tricking us,
right?
Distracting us. Pandemonium.
I want to read the story again now that we're talking about it. I'm like, oh, I wonder. Now that we talked about it, like, I wonder if this is true. I need to read it again.
I want to see if that check's in there.
That's right. Is that right?
That's what
you get your own railroad if you get.
Yeah, your own railroad to hell. You're not on a highway to hell, but a railroad to hell.
Railroad to hell. Awesome.
All right, Virgil. I think we've done as much as we can.
I think we've gotten as far as we can without really having the answer. But I was very skeptical. I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what we're gonna say. But I'm so glad that we did, because I do feel like I've got more understanding of it just talking about it. It really helped.
Well, I mean, we could be totally off base, but for anyone watching,
somebody's like, it's not like that at all. It's
the whole story's about seagulls. Kenobi. The whole story's about seagulls. Don't you know? They're the original Satanists, seagulls.
That's right.
Seagulls. They're saying "Hail Satan" the whole time.
The Satan of the sea is what they call the seagull.
The sinful seagull, the Satan of the sea. Yes. You thought chicken of the sea was satanic.
Yeah, you thought you were in for it there.
Yeah. All right, Virgil. I think we come back to do another occult detective story for the rest of the month, and we see more of how Eszterhazy deals with the paranormal, because this one has really... I finally got your Paracelsus joke after watching it. I finally get it now. Well,
Oh,
let's see. It took me a long time. Let's see if we can figure out if there's any more challenging Eszterhazy story. I doubt it. I feel like this is the hardest one.
I think this is the top of the hill. So, this is the prize, right? Can you decipher this story? So it's definitely a conundrum. But it's interesting that I love that we found out that yes, that there is a bit of misdirection happening in the story, because I totally felt misdirected. So it's interesting to realize that and think, oh, what was going on when I was looking over here? So that's kind of cool.
I think so. This is the top of the hill, and the answer is the cheese wheel rolling
That's
down.
right. Cheese. That's it. That is it.
All right, Virgil. I'll see you on the other side of the river Styx.
Other side of the cheese wheel.
Other side of the cheese wheel.
Other side of the cheese wheel. Get it out from underneath the dung heap.
Oh my God. That's right. This does have a real cheese wheel. Oh.
Yeah.
The story's full of surprises.
Bringing it all together. It's all part of the mystery.
It's all part of the mystery. All right, Virgil. See you next time.
See you, Pop. It was great.